Finding equations of exponential functions. Find an equation of the form f of x equals ab to the x using your calculator. To be aware, it's a little more tricky to find exponential function equations, but not impossible. But it's not quite as easy as linear equations. So, one recommendation, use your calculator for reference. So let's try to use our calculator for reference. Here I have some reference guidelines for your calculator. So, if you use a T83 or T84 calculator, it's pretty similar, so do be aware of this. In your calculators, turn on your calculator, go to Stat. Stat is right next to your arrow keypad underneath the delete button. So, Stat button. You should see a menu that looks like this. Now you want to go to the right. You want to go to, pardon me, before you go to the right actually. You want to go to the table, edit the table, hit enter. And if you have any sort of data, such as something like this, on your calculators, and I'm just randomly putting values, we want to get rid of the data first. So to get rid of the data, go to the very top, push the clear button, and push down button or enter. And that clears all of it. Go to the next one, very top, clear, and push down and enter. Or down, I should say, or just enter. So now that you've cleared your data, we want to enter the data values. So data values. Let's backtrack a little to our table from before. There are our data values in this case. Okay, so on our x-axis we're going to call it 0. So on your calculator, let's enter 0. And then we're hitting enter each time. 1, enter, 2, enter, etc. 3, 4, and now go to the right on your calculator arrow keypads. That'll give you L2. We want to put 2, 6, 18, 54, and 162. If I accidentally put another number, you're going to get an error mismatch when you try to graph. So come back to this menu, Stats, Edit, and then see if you have any mismatch on your data. In this case there's a 3, so I'm just going to hit delete for that single value, and it gets rid of it. Recommendation: when you're at the top where it has the L1 and L2, avoid getting rid of the list. Avoid pushing delete. I'll do it for the L3 for this case, that way you can see what happens. And let me put some extra values on there for reference. On L3, if I put some values and hit delete, it accidentally gets rid of my list label. Well, that implies that I have to put it back, so it means I gotta get rid of all the list labels from there on. So if I hit delete on L1, I have to delete all of them then and reinstate them. I can reinstate them by pushing second and either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or the 6 key would have an L1, L2, L3, etc. So I put L3, hit enter, go to the next one. Do notice it didn't clear it out, right? So now we can clear it out. But go to the next one, second 4 for L4, etc. and you'd hit enter. Once again, in order to clear this, I have to push the clear button and down. Avoid hitting delete when you're at the top. So just for reference. Now let's go back to our regularly scheduled table. So in this case, our list, we filled in the list 1, 2, 3, 4, L2, 2, 6, 18, 54, and 162. They match what we have on the table. That's good. So now that we have our table, we want to take a quick look, see what it looks like for reference. Go to y equals, push the y equals button, very top left button, plot, and we want to hit enter to turn it on. Now that it's on, notice my plot 1, it's highlighted. Since it's highlighted, I'll be able to see it. I want to go to zoom, middle top button, zoom, and we want to do zoom stat. We can look for it or just push option number 9. If you push button number 9, it automatically selects it no matter where you're at. And that allows you to see your basic plot. So in other words, your scattergram of what it looks like. Does it look like it's an exponential function format? Well, it looks like it could be. So you could probably calculate an exponential equation. Press the second, and right next to the second button, there's a mode button. That gives you the option of quit. That gives you back to your main screen. Now we want to try to calculate. So let me take you back to our next screen. So in this case, notice we want to calculate. To calculate, we go ahead and go back into stats. So stats, we go to the right, up at the top where it says calculate, go to the right ones, and you'll be at the top where it says calculate, middle top, calculate label. And we don't want to do a linear regression in this case. We've done probably linear regression in the past. If you haven't, I recommend you try some. In this case, instead of a linear regression, since this is an exponential regression equation, we want to look for exp-reg. So exponential regression, exp-reg. Let's see, there it is. Option 0 is exp-reg. Hit enter. On T84s, it tells you that it's going to calculate between L1 and L2 somewhere in there. You're going to hit enter, enter, enter until you get a final solution. T83s, it just gives you this, and it automatically calculates it from list 1 and list 2. If you want to calculate from anything else, you put L second, 1 gives you L1, second, pardon me, before that second, you put a comma, and then second 3 for L3, second 4 for L4, etc. So in this case, we just want to leave it as L1 and L2, so I'll just hit enter. If you have more options, hit enter, enter once again until you get this option. This is the great spot where I recommend you type in your equation, or basically your exponential function equation, or write it down on your paper. Y equals AB to the x, A is 2, B is 3, and then go ahead and replace them. So you say Y equals 2 times 3 raised to the power of x. And if you want to write as a function notation, f of x equals 2 times 3 to the power of x. So there we have our equation now. But we want to be able to graph it. We want to be able to see what it looks like. So now that we still have it on our graphing calculator window, we want to go to y equals. So going to y equals, and since everything's clear, this should be good. Otherwise, you want to clear anything you have on here, except for the plot. You want to leave it on. Now we want to go to bars. Bars button is right underneath your arrow keypad, next to the clear button. Push the bar button. So bars, pardon me. And now, in the bars selection, we want to select option 5, statistics. So go down to number 5 and hit enter, or push the button number 5 and automatically selects it. So 5, statistics. And that will give you a menu that looks like this. Now we want to go to the right twice at the top. At the very top, there's 1 and 2 times. It gives you the option of EQ, and we want to select the regression equation, option 1. Hit enter or push the button number 1, and it automatically plugs in your equation into your calculator. Now all you have to do is hit graph. If for some reason I've seen in the past that T84s don't tend to put the exponent, in this case the x, you're welcome to put the x if you see a blank exponent area. So there it is. Is this an exponential graph? Yeah, it looks like it's a fair description of an exponential graph. So we're pretty much done with our calculator. This is how we can do it with our calculator. Fairly straightforward, agreed? The next question is, can you find the exponential function without a calculator? To solve an equation of the form b to the n equals k for b, 1. If n is odd, the real number solution is k to the 1 over n. 2. If n is even and k is greater than or equal to 0, the real number solutions are plus or minus k to the 1 over n. 3. If n is even and k is less than 0, then there is no real number solution. So in other words, what happens when you solve, in this case, for your value, particular value of k? So what your k turns out to be in either case scenario. So once again, this was the mainly calculator tutorial. Stay tuned for solving by hands or finding an equation by hand.